Time to tip off this week's Bench Points podcast. This week, we're going to cover March Madness in August. I know that sounds ridiculous because it is, and we're going to prove that today. And then we're going to talk about some teams that really need to return back to their prominent status, and they're not anymore. And also, last but certainly not least, we'll do our bench behavior segment because there's plenty to talk about. And speaking of bench behavior, let's kick off the first one. This whole Auburn claiming titles thing. What are we doing? This is the most embarrassing, cringy release in SEC football that I've seen in a very long time.
The whole Auburn football program is weird. Like, you're claiming national titles based on point differential. Like, why? What's the purpose of that?
And I guess it has to do with girth.
Yeah, probably, and length. But
yeah.
And then Hugh Freeze doing the play calling by committee. You get first downs, he gets third downs, all that, which is just crazy. And then Auburn football, you won a title with Cam Newton and then just fell off the face of the earth. It's been just terrible ever since.
It is pretty sad.
Look, here's my take. If you're walking down the street and you see $100 bill laying in the street, are you gonna pick it up? Yeah, you're probably gonna pick it up. And Auburn just walk down the street and be like, "Look, there's some unclaimed national titles here. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that."
I just hope they have a banner ceremony for it. And
I hope so too. And this is where Purdue's dropped the bag. They ain't got a national title and nothing. They need to pick that guy up. Come on, boys.
We could have just picked those up.
Where were we on that one? Come on. But no, I agree with you guys. This is cringy behavior, but I'm also look, whistle down the sidewalk. You see something available, man. Be like, I'm liking this to taking an Amazon package off of somebody's porch.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think the athletic director had a bonus for national titles in his contract and was just like, aha, easy money.
Look,
yeah,
got
like a
5
loophole.
of them.
Let's see how we do here.
Yeah, such a bizarre thing. Speaking of other bizarre behavior, bench behavior, this hits closer to home to you all than for myself. But for the Indiana football program, scheduling, I think they're 5A high school teams for their schedule. I think that's what they
might be too tough. This is crazy. They don't play a Power 4 conference team until 2030 in the non-conference. That's just ridiculous. You can't be a legitimate playoff contender and never play anybody of value outside your conference.
Look, as again, I'm gonna talk as a Purdue fan over here. I don't have a pot to piss in this conversation because we won 1 game last year and it was against Evansville, and I think we're favored to win approximately 0 games this year. So part of me wishes Purdue might schedule a little bit like Indiana here, so we could pick up some W's and not be like quarterback you and have a Heisman candidate 3 weeks into the year and then play some real competition in the Big Ten and just get dog walked out of the conference. So good on you, Signetti. You made the first expanded playoffs. I don't think you're going to get it done with this schedule. You need something to cheer about this year because I don't think it's going to be their basketball teams.
No, but to me, that's what makes it even more strange is that they honestly, but I don't know how it's financially responsible to schedule those kinds of games when we're in this era of this market share and things like that. You want these big time TV deals. You want to be on TV. You want to have this exposure, but when you don't play anybody, if it's just all about a record, this makes me feel like Cincinnati, all he cares about is his record.
Yep.
And if he's gonna recruit on that and they're willing to believe that mess, then yeah, they deserve it. Go ahead. Go be a Hoosier. That's fine.
See, everybody likes to throw shade at the SEC for having that cupcake, the week or two before the last couple games of the regular season. But that's because they typically play a Power 4 team at the beginning of the year. So it's yeah, we have the same amount of cupcakes. We just put ours at the back. We can't help we're smarter than you.
Right.
Well, and all that's changing too, by the way, from what today's news with going to 9 games. But that's a whole different.
Right off the jump, Texas, Ohio State. I mean, that's how you schedule. This ain't getting it done. Watch what the SEC is doing. Watch what the big boys of the Big Ten, Michigan, and Ohio States are doing. I mean, again, from a Purdue standpoint, from a football lens, I ain't got much to say in this. We're pretty terrible. We're going to stay terrible. But for a program that made the playoffs last year to take this big of a step back as far as scheduling, it just seems cowardice.
And ducking teams, too. Paying the contract to get out of it. It's not crap, we scheduled somebody and then now they suck. That's excusable. At least you tried. Or, coaching changes or something and somebody left you high and dry, so you're just filling gaps. It's purposely scheduling the bottom rung to boost an extra 4 wins into your schedule or whatever it is.
Yeah, it beats anything I've ever seen. And also for Signetti to be so confident, borderline cocky, sorry, that's not going to hold up.
IU's football team is pretty good and fairly talented. Why wouldn't you want to run them up against somebody? It's not like the team is bad. I don't understand. If Purdue's scheduled like that, nobody's going to care because, like, oh yeah, they wanted a couple extra wins. Fine.
Right.
Yeah, if I'm a player, I think if it's like, okay, you don't have that kind of confidence in us, for us, you don't think we're good enough to go compete with the big boys? Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just find that very interesting. All right. So we realize that it is August, but it's never too early to talk about March Madness. So we wanted to kind of hash out and predict boldly and irrationally some seeding for the tournament and where we see that could fall into place. And so we're looking at the first 1 through 4 seeds. So which one of you guys want to kick it off?
I don't mind kicking it off because I like to talk. March every year is my personal holiday. The Thursday and Friday of the tournament, I do take off. Or I never work. It is a religious holiday to me. So it's never too early to start talking about March Madness. I've been talking about it since it ended. And so looking at, how these teams are built, their schedules, their conferences, I kind of landed on who I think are going to be the 4 number 1 seeds. And I have a couple of them that are interchangeable, and we could talk about that a little bit more as we go through Jake's here. But my 4 number 1s are Houston, UConn, Florida, and Purdue. Now, 2 of my number 1s, UConn and Purdue, I think are interchangeable with Michigan and St. John's, depending on who wins their conference. If St. John's winds up winning the Big East, then St. John's is the number 1. Same thing with Michigan. I think it's going to be down to those 4 teams for those 2 conferences. But my no doubters are Houston and Florida. These are the 6 teams I've already talked about, are hands down the best 6 teams preseason that you could list. So that's where I'm landing on my 4 number 1s. Jake, where are you at?
Yeah, I've got the same top 3 with Houston, Florida, and UConn. Then I went with Michigan, but it's literally the next 2 I have are Purdue and St. John's for the same reason. I've got Michigan winning the Big Ten. That's why they're there instead of Purdue. If Purdue wins it, they're there. There's not a lot to discuss.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. Same thing with UConn, St. John's. It's going to come down to their non-con because when they play each other, they're going to split, and I think they're going to dominate their conferences. So I don't think there's really much argument there. So like you plug in St. John's, Michigan as your number 2s. Where I think we're going to start to differ is when we get to number 2s. I've got Duke. Now, Duke as a number 2 could easily replace like a Purdue and Michigan if they have a struggle in their non-con and also kind of run that gauntlet in the Big Ten with UCLA and Illinois and take a couple losses. And Duke can kind of sneak into the number 1 because of the ACC and how weak it is. But as of right now, I've got Duke as a number 2, obviously St. John's, Michigan. And then where my dark horse is and where you guys are probably going to look at me cross-eyed is I've got Kentucky as a number 2. It's a stacked SEC. This team has had a lot of money put into it. I'm going to reluctantly trust Mark Pope to get this team in the top 1 to 2 seed.
Even though he came out today and said he gets his best plays off social media.
What?
Yeah. Somewhere he was talking about he gets his most creative plays off social media. My 2s, so we can go from there. I've got, of course, if everyone St. John's kind of went through that, but where we get off is I've got Louisville and Arizona rounded it out. I think Louisville's the best team in the ACC. Duke is the most talented team. That's not an argument. I'm just saying I don't trust the pieces as much as I trust what Louisville has. I think there's the returning players leave a lot to be wanted at Duke, and I'm not sure that the freshmen they brought in are enough to pull them ahead of Louisville, where I trust Louisville. They've got some really good experience with some of the transfers and returners. I like Kelsey and then Mikael Brown Jr. Plus, their schedule works out. Like they've got some big names on their schedule that might not be as good. Like with the Kansas game, Kansas, Arkansas, IU, and Memphis are all names that I recognize, but those teams aren't that good this year. So it's going to be like you get some extra credit there for beating good names and not necessarily good teams.
Yeah,
I think that is a huge point that doesn't get brought up enough. Just because Kansas, regardless of their record at that time or how they're playing, if you beat Kansas, that speaks volumes, and I feel like that's how the committee kind of sees those wins. Yeah, and I'm going to bring up Louisville later on and for another segment, but no, I would love to see Louisville be back to kind of that prominent place. And Kelsey, I think, is a great coach. Seems to be like a solid guy. I just want them to be able to beat up on Kentucky and make that a thing. And make that a fight.
Even when Patino was there, they couldn't beat up on Kentucky. I don't like it's Kentucky just got their number for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So Brad, before we get into our threes, you've listened to our ones and twos. You got any challenges, any red flags, any flag on the plays on those?
This is 100% my gut on this. This has nothing to do with research. This has nothing to do with anything other than the fact I just don't think I can get behind Michigan. I'm not saying that they're going to be like a 6 seed. I think they're going to be, I could see them being like the 4 seed range. But again, we certainly can see all the scheduling.
When it comes to the actual Big Ten conference, it's breaking Purdue's way as opposed to Michigan. But my thing with Michigan is, one, you got a really established coach with Dusty May. The other thing is the way he's built this team. I think we talked about at length about Elliot Cadeau.
Yep.
If he can avoid those F- games that he had at North Carolina, then you pair him with a Yaxel and you got something special. Cheddar from last year was a key player. You got some returners. It's just a really well built team that I think is bought into Dusty May's culture.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna head to head that with Purdue and what Matt Painter has been able to do over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. I personally think Big Ten and SEC all year are going to be must-see TV. Almost every time you turn on the TV and there's a Big Ten or SEC game, you're going to want to tune in. Especially when you got like Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, some of those names are just going to be fun to watch. But then when you got the Big Ten, you got UCLA, Purdue, Michigan, Illinois. It's just going to be must-see TV all year.
Well, and I was just looking at Michigan's schedule. The Players Era Championship. Actually, Sam, you brought this up. Michigan's going to play San Diego State and Auburn in Las Vegas.
And then they get one more based on how everything shakes out at the Players.
Right. I mean, it's a huge test.
Yeah, and I mean they also get Duke too. So like
February.
I mean, this is an entire episode to talk about, but some of the matchups that some of these teams have like kind of put themselves up against in the non-con are just works of art. I mean, we got some dream matchups coming up. I know the three of us are going to the Alabama game in November, which I'm really excited. But it's Purdue, Alabama, Indy Classic this year. We've got Purdue. Those are just two teams from my team, like the team I root for. Tennessee's got a great schedule coming up. UConn's got a great schedule. I mean, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, some of these teams were very aggressive in the non-con, and that, like I said, we pair that with what Indiana's doing with the football program. I mean, there's night and day stuff. This is how you build character and build a championship team, is by getting through that November and December. And then when you get into your conference schedule, you handle your business and you get into March.
Your seed differences are made in November and December.
Right.
Yes.
So that conference, you're just holding on to it.
Yes. Well said.
That's how that normally goes. I'm surprised neither one of y'all were better than I. Me putting Arizona as a 2 seed. That shocked me. I was ready to win that one.
So here's where I'm at with Arizona. Like, I don't have them in my 1 through 4. And I was looking at like some of the bracketology that's been released, like by ESPN. I think Torvik, I went through their rankings. I'm still waiting for KenPom to update theirs because I finally bought a membership there and I just need that to start paying off because, I paid the $25.99 or whatever the hell it was. I'm not bought in on Arizona yet, which kind of helps segue into our threes, because I was looking at the rankings and I was trying to decide how I wanted to kind of fit this, and I was going through, potential brackets. My threes, it starts off with Tennessee, and I might have them high compared to some other folks. I was very close to putting Tennessee as a 2 ahead of Kentucky, just because I so firmly believe in Gillespie and Nate Ament. I think those two are going to be just an absolutely dynamic duo all year. They're going to be highlight reel. Barnes is a defensive-minded guy. Defense wins you championships. And so I was very close to putting Tennessee at a 2. But then I rounded off with Louisville, who Jake mentioned earlier, as a 2. I really like them. It's a very weak ACC, so they're likely to have a good enough record to get a 2. I just got them in that 3 because they're still learning who they are. But they're a very, very talented roster. And then I got BYU and Iowa State. Iowa State's got Purdue this year. This is another big matchup. We're talking about matchups, right? That's going to be a fun one. That's a game that I would like to go to. Again, or number threes that could easily be twos, or held by you could potentially be a one, depending on how everything shakes out. Although I do kind of think that they're like Rutgers 2.0, for very talented teams that could fluctuate all the way from the 1 through 4.
Like if you're looking at the true seed list, right? Like I had the last two I had was Arizona, so like 8, 9, and 10. I think you can flip those any which way. And I've got Arizona, Tennessee, and Kentucky there. I got a lot of question marks on Kentucky, but there's a lot of talent there. The same thing with Tennessee. There's question marks, and Tennessee is will be like a half step ahead of where Kentucky's at. I don't know that the crazy offensive games that Kentucky was having last year, they were really, really talented offensively. I don't think that got quite replaced. And Pope's never been a great defensive mind. So I think that's where they'll slip up once or twice, and Tennessee will take advantage and get that extra seed on them. But then I go Illinois and Duke. Like I said, Duke is probably might be the most talented team out there if you're just looking at a pure talent standpoint. But I don't know that it's going to come together in time with the other teams that are out there. Like the Boozer twins, very, very good. Lagomba, very good. And I mean, Isaiah Evans, if they could very easily be one seed, and it wouldn't shock me. It's just, does Evans figure out how to play defense and do some more stuff besides shoot the three ball? Does Foster figure out how to play good all year and not just for a 3-game stretch here or there? And I mean, depending on all those freshmen, you never know. It's not like you're drawing Cooper Flag every year or Zion and stuff where those guys can carry a load like that. Like I don't see the freshmen on this team that can carry a team like Cooper could and Zion and RJ and like all that. I just don't see that. And then Illinois is one of the ones that scares me the most because they've got all the talent in the world to be there, but it all exists beyond the arc. So they very easily could be way down the list because they go through a 2-week stretch where they're shooting 20% from behind the arc or something crazy like that. The 3 seeds I picked based on who's got most talent, but biggest question marks. Because, yeah, they could get there, but there's a lot of areas those teams could drop.
Can you say with 100% certainty that you're not trying to downplay how good Duke could be? Are you trying to protect yourself?
No.
Or do you really believe this?
Like I said, they could very easily be the one seed,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't mock me if all the pieces come together. I don't trust what they've got coming back enough to do it, and I don't know that Cameron Boozer is enough to carry them up that high. Like he is very good and be one of the top few picks in the draft. That's
Right.
not the argument. It's just I don't know that he's good enough to shoulder this team all the way up that high when you've got teams like Florida who's more talented than they were last year, Houston who's more talented than they were last year, UConn who's very good, Michigan. I think Duke plays both UConn and Michigan. I know they at least played Michigan. Both very early on. If I'm right,
That's
or wrong,
what I was about to say.
because the ACC is not gonna challenge them really. North Carolina maybe, and then after that, it's a very, very sharp drop off.
See here, I don't even like. Again, I'm very, very low on North Carolina, and we'll talk about them later. My thing with Duke is they are going to learn a lot about themselves in the non-con because it is just 7 circles of hell. It's going to be team after team that is going to test these, especially the younger guys, your boozers and all that. But I think when it comes into conference play, they're going to run away with it. I think Louisville will give them fits in the ACC. Outside of that, I see Duke running away with that conference and really putting themselves in a good spot. I have them as my number 1, 2. Very easily could be the 3rd or 4th number 1. I can see the reluctance and I can see the protecting yourself there too, as Brad said. As far as Illinois, I was very, very reluctant to put Illinois as my 4. And the only reason is because it's like, how's the Serbian national team going to do in Big Ten play? Any team that's going to close out on Illinois is going to give them problems. Any team that plays a drop or cannot close out on the 3 ball is just going to get punished. I don't think there's a lot of rim protection there, but I think there's enough talent in there to sneak them into the 4. My other 3 4s, and I'm including them because according to their fan base, they're a national championship team. I got Arkansas up here. It's a Cal roster, and Cal rosters can do magical things. I don't think they're going to be well coached, but it's a Calipari roster, and they're playing in a very tough SEC, so I think they'll get some credit there. And then I got UCLA. I was close to putting UCLA as a 3, but I'm like, man, I'm loading the the Big Ten up in the 1, 2s, and 3s. There's a part of me that feels like the Big Ten's going to beat the hell out of each other all year, and we might see a lot of 2 through 4s and no 1s, but we'll see how all that pans out. And then the team that I kind of snuck in there because it's one of those things where I hate their program with every fiber of my being. But the more I'm reading about Daryl Peterson and his expected role with Kansas, there's part of me that's just like, look, Bill Self, as much as we don't like the guy and as much as like he's kind of like he's done some things that would get most coaches fired, he's been suspended. I mean, God love him and be with him in his health, but that doesn't mean any of us three have to like him or respect him. But the way he talks about Daryl Peterson and the programs that he's built, it's got me thinking that maybe there's something about Kansas this year that is gonna propel them into the 1 through 4 seeds, and I've got them on the cusp of being that number 4.
My 4s, I kind of, I don't know, went a little off here. I got Texas Tech as Alabama, Auburn, and Oregon. I'll start with why BYU and Kansas and Arkansas aren't there. Like BYU, this could just be something weird in me. I don't like them enough. I think the Big 12 is a very solid conference through and through. Like, Kansas is going to be a tough out. Texas Tech, Arizona, Kansas State, TCU, they all have fairly decent squads, if not borderline good to great. Like it's going to be tough, and I don't trust BYU and their coach enough to get there. That I could be very easily wrong because the talent is certainly there to do something amazing. Most places have him based on talent within the top probably 7 or 8 teams. Just at this level, talent just doesn't quite get you there. And then Arkansas, like I've got no faith in them. I went on my rant about them. I do not like what they return. I think we are blowing some performances, some late season performances out of proportion because Cal wants to sell that and overlooking some pretty big zeros. I do think the freshman they brought in, I think he's extremely talented, but I don't think he pairs well with Wagner. And Kansas, I think Peterson is the real deal, but after that, the team can't shoot. And 3-ball, like it or not, it's very important. And I just don't think they've got it.
I'm putting a lot of eggs in the Kansas name basket more than I am their actual talent on their roster, and then a lot of faith in Darren Peterson, who like I said, he's getting all the praise for himself. It's funny because I put 4 doorstep teams, Jake, that I think are on the cusp of being that 1 through 4. Texas Tech, they have a National Player of the Year candidate in Toppin. He's going to be fun to watch all year. There is a potential matchup in the Baja Mar with Purdue and Texas Tech, which I think would be an absolute phenomenal watch. Auburn is on my doorstep. I mean, Bruce Pearl, I put a lot of faith in him. I like that coach. I've loved what he did at Tennessee. I love what he's doing at Auburn. I think they're always dangerous. Oregon is on my doorstep. Again, another Big Ten team that I'm just going to have to battle all year. And then the 4th team I have on my doorstep to get in that 1 through 4 is Iowa. After we talked about Big Ten and National Player of the Years, like I kind of went back and I looked at that Iowa roster a little more closely. If Sturtz can play with the big boys in the Big Ten, I mean, this isn't Drake basketball anymore. This isn't your mid-major life. This is Big Ten. This is the real deal. If he can do what he did at Drake and what he did all year last year in his entire career, put up those numbers, shoot that annoying floater, hit 3s from half court. He is exactly what Iowa needs to get back into relevancy. And this team could be very, very dangerous come tournament time, because come tournament time, the teams that always wind up shocking the world are the ones that hit 48 threes in a game. You go back to, I watched the highlights of the Loyola Tennessee game, and they started off that game not missing any threes. I went back and
Twice in the matter of an hour, you bring that up?
I went back and watched North Texas knock off Purdue. I mean, 3 after 3. St. Peter's, what they did to Kentucky, and then what they did to Kentucky was more 3-ball. What they did to Purdue was just more like, what the hell is Purdue doing? I was just kind of going back and watching those games. Iowa's one of those teams that I think, they'll beat you up behind the arc. Man, I think they have just enough inside presence to be dangerous as well.
I never really considered Iowa. I don't know. They're in the same boat with BYU to me. Like, I think the talent's there. I just don't think it works. But
is there a certain amount of, how there's, I know this is for me, but like for Colorado and college football, it's kind of like it's getting old. They're getting annoying a little bit, and everybody wants them to win, and everybody as in the media. but you just kind of hope they tank a little bit. Do you have that feeling towards BYU, or do you kind of hope that they kind of here for it, for them to go and make a run?
No, I want more teams making runs and stuff.
That's where I'm at.
Like BYU, the teams that are like that for me are more of like Arkansas, really. Wherever Cal's at, I'm always rooting for that to
Yeah,
lose.
that's honestly very fair. I think most people would probably.
Here's what I'm gonna say is like the teams that I historically have root for, like your Purdue's, Michigan State's, Duke's for a while, but I'm not 100% sure I'm there now, but like Tennessee's, are just built rosters, like well-built rosters. What I don't like are bot rosters. And I've always felt like Kentucky's, Arkansas now, are bot rosters. UNC is a bot roster. This BYU team was a very expensively bought roster, and I cannot find myself getting behind it. Like, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be athletic. I think they're going to have NBA level talent in this roster. I'm not going to root for them this year. I really hope Debansa gets to play. Stay celibate, brother. But I don't know. I just cannot get behind a bought and paid for roster. And I know that the era of college basketball is changing into the NIL, and like we're getting into revenue sharing, and that's all a part of it. A lot of these teams that with like the $8 to $10 million budgets, okay, cool. That you're just playing the game now. But some of these teams with like the $20 million spends, I'm like, God, geez, come on, guys. Like this is getting like lower level NBA team spend. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like, I feel so bad for those Jimmer teams that I want BYU to get there once. It's still like cheering for an underdog because I would cheer for Gonzaga for a while, and then they started getting there. It's like, okay, now you've changed the expectation. So now I'll hit you with a real magnifying glass to see what I like and what I don't like. But BYU, get there once. Let's see you do it. And it's nowhere near the same team, same style at all anymore. So I don't know if it really fits. Michigan State kills me. Like I think Izzo is a top tier coach. So not saying that,
Yep.
but I think they get overrated every year talent wise because of him, and a little bit of that is earned. But it's been a while since they've done a lot, and I keep hearing about it. Maybe it's just proximity. I keep hearing about them and hearing about them. I'm like, where's it at?
This is a team that kind of snuck in there and won the Big Ten last year. It's Michigan State. Like Izzo's one of those guys who builds a roster that you just cannot count out. They're gonna schedule tough in the non-con, and they're gonna lose some games that they shouldn't. But Izzo gets teams ready, especially when it comes to conference play. It's like anytime you see Michigan State on your schedule, you're not excited about it. I mean, it's must-see TV. You're gonna want to watch it, but you're just like, yeah, my team has to play Izzo.
Yeah,
What's Izzo scheming?
Yeah,
The only time I've ever thought Izzo wasn't making the right call, oddly enough, was in the Zach Edey era. He refused to double team Zach Edey. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, he's just going to beat the hell out of you. And then sure enough, he systematically beat the hell out of him. And Izzo was just like reluctant to bend on that. And I just remember thinking, I was like, I wonder what he's thinking.
I don't think he had the squad to double team him.
I don't think so either.
He didn't, but neither did Nebraska. And Nebraska double teamed him and gave Purdue enough fits where they snuck a couple out against him. I remember that Tamanaga game where he just went absolutely insane. And every time Edey touched the ball, there was like 4 people on him, and I was like, they've got their number. That was the only time I've ever really questioned Izzo. And Izzo has made quite a few Final Fours. He's got a natty under his belt. He's a Hall of Fame legend coach. It's weird not seeing them in the 1 through 4. End of the year, Michigan State's a 1 through 4. Are any of us going to be surprised? I think we'll be like, not on our bingo card, but we're also not surprised.
Before his face got hurt, I definitely wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah.
Now that he's hurt and not going to be able to play, a
little lower.
It would surprise me for them to be in 1 through 4 seed.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Maybe not a 4, 1 through 3. 4 wouldn't shock me.
I think that's fair. And I think, Tom Izzo, we talk about it all the time. He has his teams ready for March.
Yeah.
The whole season's leading up to March. I don't think he really gives a damn. Just as long as his team is playing their best ball in March, that's what his expectation is for himself and for his staff and for his players. And that's very evident. So when it comes to the whole, picking your bracket, I always lean heavy on Michigan State. I don't care what kind of season they're going to have. As long as he's the coach, I have full confidence in them being able to kind of at least advance to the Sweet 16. Unless, I mean, something crazy would have to happen, I feel like. I mean, it's almost like that's one of those where their name does carry a lot of weight, but their tournament pedigree is just hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I might be changing what I'm saying now, but like as much of a tournament coach as Michigan Izzo is, like he is a pure tournament coach, probably one of the best pure tournament coaches we've seen. Him and Hurley. Anytime there's a tournament, you don't want to see either one of those because those guys just ooze basketball knowledge and
Yep.
I can get those guys there. Like,
and their players believe in them.
Yeah, like they've just got every bit of it to know how to turn it on quick and dissect something and come up with something real quick to counter what you're doing. Like Barnes is that for Tennessee for regular season, and that's why I think Tennessee gets higher seeds a lot of times, especially here recently, is because he is such a good regular season coach and that defense is so good. And he just loses it in the tournament. Like, I don't know. There's several coaches out there that are regular season coaches, get you all the regular season titles, like Painter's kind of one of these guys too. All the regular season titles you want, and then you get to the tournament and it's like they don't adjust quick enough. And
right.
Like Izzo is the complete opposite of that. He goes in at halftime and gives you probably 2 different game plans and comes out and
schemes. Just schemes.
Well, that's a pretty good that's not a bad fix there for our March Madness addictions here in August. As we kind of go into our next segment, Jake, tell us where they can, our wonderful listeners can find out more about Bench Points.
We're on Instagram and TikTok, YouTube Shorts, if that's your deal. That's never been mine. But Bench Points or Bench Points Pod, either one, that'll bring it up, and we'll be there with a different clip every day. Like, who knows what you'll get? Sometimes you'll get something where Brad and Sam are talking about beer, or sometimes you get some nice basketball knowledge out of one of us. Who knows?
Yeah, and sometimes we talk about Megan, who went to an FDU game, therefore is untouchable when it comes to her basketball knowledge, and we are not allowed to go at her.
That's right.
She is supreme. Megan. Hope you're watching.
No, and engage with us. We want to discuss and talk ball, and especially when the season rolls around and then we get closer, there's gonna be so much to talk about. We're definitely excited to interact with you all further.
Or call funny names. I don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. That's fine with us. We can handle it. I mean, hopefully, I might be able to. I have Jake and Sam to cry on, so yes, we'll power through. So for this this next segment, real quick, let's dive into let's talk some glory days. Let's talk some nostalgia. Which blue blood program is most overdue for a return to dominance? All right, so we talked about the first 4 seeds, but what would be our final 4 predictions that are way too early, irrational, probably irrelevant? But what's the final 4 look like for March Madness in August?
This is so hard to do without a bracket in front of you to see the matchup and play it out. But
it is.
I if you were asking me to put money down on like a Final Four future today, the 4 teams I'm going with, Houston and Florida, no doubt. And you're probably not going to get great odds on those, but that's for sure. And then after that, man, Purdue, just because the story of coming home would be nice. And then, man, I kind of like Duke to do it too. At the beginning of the year, it's going to be tough. Talent's there. Shire's a good coach. I've just got this. He's got this pattern right now. He gets one step farther every time. Like every year he's coaching. Sweet 16 first year, Elite 8 the next year, Final Four last year. I'm not saying he makes a championship. He's got one of the most talented teams in ball. He's a great coach. If he gets them going together at the right time, at the end of the year, like I think he will through the non-conference and the conference play, that's you put them in as like a 3 or 4 seed, and it's a little bit easier path than it is for the 1 seed, because that second game, that 8-9 could be terrible, where 3-4s get every once in a while get that mid-major that shows up and upsets somebody.
McNeese.
Yeah.
Well, and Jake, you just said that's one of the reasons why I ask you is like, are you trying to protect yourself and your and like tamper your or restrict your expectations? Because Shire has done that. It's been constant. I mean, every year is better. And that dude is a confident, cocky son of a gun. I think he cares about his legacy pretty heavily. I think he wants to be.
Oh, he wants.
I think he's expecting big stuff. Especially, I think he will want to prove any sort of haters wrong, then not have Cooper Flag, and how he can bounce back from that next year. I mean, I think that's a dangerous combo for the ACC to deal with. But that's one of the things. I think that Shire he does have that kind of a progression. I don't see him wanting to let up.
He just doesn't make the same mistake twice. Last year, that Houston game, they had it in the bag and he pulled the air out too early.
Yep.
And then I don't know if I'm him. I have done nothing all summer but figure out how to break presses over it, whatever press it is. That's all I do. I wake up, I watch different presses, I figure out how to break them, memorize it, practice it, go to sleep, and do it. Because couldn't break the press at the end of the game, and that killed him. Absolutely killed him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and it also Houston, very good defensive team, very good high pressure team. That can literally run your ass from end to end.
But I mean, you had it won. They had a 5, 6, 7 point lead with like
6-point lead. 97% winning percentage.
Yeah. And you could ask anybody that talked to me right after that game. The refs aren't the reason Duke lost, but they're the reason Houston won. Duke lost because Shire pulled the air out of it too early and couldn't break a press. The reason Houston won was the stupid call with 16 seconds left on the foul line. Even if you think it's a foul and you wanted to foul, you swallow your whistle there. You don't decide the game on the free throw line like that. That's bad. Real bad.
100%. All right, Sam.
Who do you got in your national title game? And who's your dog? Who's winning it?
I'm all in on Houston this year. Like that's my guy. That's all that's going to matter. If it's Florida, Purdue, and Houston, Duke, Houston's there, and then probably Florida. If it's Purdue, Duke, Houston, Florida, you got, I'm going to say Houston and Purdue. I don't know. It just depends on the matchups. I just think Houston's the one to win it, and then flip a coin on the other side.
Yep. So my Final Four, and I've actually redone this 4 or 5 different times now. I've got Houston and UConn on one side, and I've got Michigan and Purdue on the other. We've talked at length about Houston, UConn, Michigan, Purdue, all those teams. Those are our boys. Those are our babies all year. They're going to be there. UConn, Braylon Mullins playing in his backyard. Houston, a team that's been due for a long time. Michigan, who's just bringing back a star-studded team here. And then Purdue, hometown story. I think there's some cinema in this Final Four. If this is how it plays out, then sign me up. I'm going to be there regardless. I'm taking my kiddo. I got to go to my first Final Four, like whenever it was in Indianapolis in like 2000, I think it was like 10 or something like that. I can't remember. That was my first Final Four. I mean, hell, I was like 27 years old. Like, it's way too late in life to go to a Final Four. Carson's going to go when he's 2. So just getting that cherry broken right away. As far as my national title game, I've got Houston and Purdue, 2 teams that deserve a national title. And where I'm going to differ from Jake, and I've even got the scenario painted in my head, it is 60-57. There is 15 seconds left on the clock, and Liam Murphy hits a 3-pointer in the corner to tie the game, much like what Cam Heide did at the end of the Purdue-Houston Sweet 16 game. Uzan dribbles the ball up the court, drives down the lane and pushes off. Braden Smith falls to the floor, and they call a charge with 7 seconds left. Call that got missed last year. Braden Smith brings the ball down the court. TKR sets a high ball screen. Pocket pass. Floater from the free throw line from TKR. Game over. Purdue national champions, winning in their own backyard. Sam Hauser on the sidelines crying, holding his son up in the air. Victory finally comes to West Lafayette. We hang a banner and we shut up IU fans for a couple of years. So that is my Final Four, my national title game, my national champions, and the scenario that provides it. Boiler up, hammer down. Uzan charged at the end of the Sweet 16 game last year.
Yeah, I really do want. For me, it's Houston and Purdue. I think that'd be the most fun. There's such a heavy storyline there. As just a pure basketball fan, that just would be awesome.
Two great programs, 2 great coaches, 2 great teams.
They're both to do one.
Both deserve it. More than anybody else on our list that we've talked about, those are 2 teams that absolutely deserve a national title. I hope it happens. Like I said, pure cinema.
Yeah.
Tickets will be unreasonably expensive, and I will be buying that.
I would say worth it.
You know what would be this is a pure nightmare for me. What's going to happen is this is going to be the best year of Tennessee's life. They're going to do it. They're going to get there. They're going to be opposite of Purdue, and then they're going to have to play a road game against Purdue in the championship, and it's just going to go about as poor as possible for me. And then I'll be sitting next to Sam trying not to cry my eyes out as I'm watching all my hopes and dreams fall apart as he's living his, because that's what typically happens when Tennessee Purdue plays.
Look, Jake and I have been through it. When did you move to Indianapolis, Jake?
15.
In 15. So we've been friends for 10 years, and we've been dealing with this for 10 years. When Purdue played Tennessee in the Sweet 16 game and Carson Edwards clearly got fouled at the 3-point line, we tied the game and went in overtime and just dog walked Tennessee, much like we did most of the game, actually. We really shouldn't have never gone. Tennessee should have never been in it, but they just went on a crazy run. And then one of the best games I've ever seen in my entire life was Tennessee-Purdue a couple of years ago. In that Elite Eight game. That was, Dalton Connect and Zach Edey put on the performance of ages in that game, and it was absolute poetry in basketball. We didn't watch that game together, but we were texting the entire time, and there was times where, I texted Jake, I was like, well, enjoy the Final Four. It's been a hell of a run, and then 5 minutes later, Jake was like, well, it's over. Tennessee's out of it. And then, get down to the last 2 minutes, and we had no idea what's going to happen, but it would be pretty magical to see Tennessee and Purdue meet in either a Final Four or a national title game, but it never shakes out that way. They're going to wind up busting each other in the bracket, and that's going to be it.
History has definitely supported that, unfortunately, I guess.
For us.
And we'll be reading about it on Bowl Report, I'm sure.
You know it.
So.
All right, does that cover March Madness in August?
I think that covers March Madness in August, and like I said, it's not soon enough.
Our way too early bracketology. There we go.
I'm already excited. I'm so excited. So, Jake, you already mentioned about socials, right?
Yep.
So,
very good. Bench Points Pod, Bench Stop Points. Find us where you need us.
That's right. Find us where you need us. That's pretty good. That'll preach right there.
Check us out on YouTube. We're all three handsome men. Very handsome men. Look at us.
That's what my mom says, at least.
Yes. At least we have something going for us. At least we're looking good to what we're doing on this end of the bench. All right. For the next segment, let's talk about some teams that maybe had some glory days that they continuously go back to, and maybe they still wear their Letterman jacket to their games after they've left, and maybe some teams that need to be back in prominent places so that they can be kind of back on the college basketball world. Maybe some teams that are college basketball's better when they're better. So I've got a few questions here. So I'm gonna throw them out there to both of you, and we're gonna kind of hash these out real quick, just kind of as we wrap things up for this episode. Which blue blood program is most overdue for a return to dominance?
Now, they've got 5 national titles, so by definition, they're a blue blood. I don't consider them a blue blood anymore. But I'm a coin toss between IU, whose last national title was in 1987, I believe. They have ebbed and flowed so much through the 2000s and 2010s that it's just like you don't know if you're getting 1 or 2 seed in the tournament or if you're getting an NIT darling, and they've refused to play in the NIT. But last couple of years, just there's been nothing that makes you believe in Indiana basketball until they play Purdue, and then they get some inspired play for a little bit. I think Woodson went 500 against Painter's Purdue team, but in that stretch, Purdue was ranked number 1 in 3 of those 4 years. So congratulations on your 500 series against Purdue. However, you did absolutely nothing else. I think with the coaching change and some of the program building that DeVries is going to bring in, they have a chance to return to some prominence. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next, but IU is definitely one of those teams that need to return to kind of the glory days. And then another blue blood that I've got on my radar, and I know that they made a national title game a couple years ago, but ever since Hubert Davis took over, UNC has just gone backwards. There is nothing about the way UNC has played, the way they've been coached, the way they built their rosters that makes me believe that they have been or ever will be a blue blood again. That's all subject to change, right? They're one good season away from being back on everybody's good graces. They got in last year to the tournament on just some absolutely crooked nonsense. So this is a team that realistically should be 2 years removed from a tournament bid. Again, they spent $20 million on the roster, and I don't see $20 million anywhere on that. So North Carolina is another team where it's just like, get back to prominence, because when IU and North Carolina are good, basketball's better.
So I've written IU off, if I'm honest, like that. You've got a lot of work to do to get back to being anywhere close. The two that I want to get back to that top tier, I want Kansas and Villanova to get back there. Those two teams are college basketball is so much better when you've got those two teams. Like Villanova, like the Philly area and having all that, like that is so much fun when they're good. Like when Jay Wright had those teams running, it's good. People forget how storied of a past Villanova has. Like I think the NC State team that you get for surviving advance, that was against Nova, I believe is who they beat. You know, they're very, very good team for most of the time. And who did Neptune just absolutely slam the brakes on everything Jay Wright had going? And I don't know that Willard's the guy either, and I definitely don't think it's this year. They just had such a hard stop that it kind of fell from grace, and they're almost forgotten now. And then Kansas, I want you to be that team. I want to hate you and you be good, and like where it's fun to hate you. Right now, it's not that fun to hate Kansas because they haven't been that good. I know they get a lot of love and shine because of all the names they've had over the last few years, but they've not been anything special. Obviously, they got a 7 seed last year. Like you don't talk about 7 seeds being your great teams. So I want you back because I don't want to punch down when I punch at Kansas.
Yeah, no, I'm always going to have more fun than most hating Kansas and watching Kansas lose to anybody. Like, I mean, I will root for IU against Kansas. I actively rooted was it 2 years ago when IU played Kansas, where I was just like the biggest IU fan in a bar wearing full out Purdue gear. But you're right. They have not been the daunting Kansas team for a couple of years. They are still a tournament team as opposed to your IU, UNC, Villanova. They've just kind of been disappeared. Another team like that, Louisville, in the Kenny Payne era, just kind of like slunk back into the dark recesses of college basketball. But at least Kansas has been at the dance floor. They're just not big man on campus in the dance floor. They're the nerdy guy sitting on the wall right now. They need to get that Letterman jacket back on, get back on the dance floor, and give that nerdy kid a wedgie. That's the Kansas basketball that we've all learned to hate and that we all love to hate. Allen Fieldhouse is one of the greatest arenas in the world, and for the last couple of years of Kansas basketball, I feel like it's like not honored that court. So to your point, it'd be nice to see him get better, especially for college basketball, but I'd be happy if they didn't make the tournament ever again, personally.
I think for me, it is IU. There's again, the basketball nerd in me wants IU to be relevant again. I don't even need them to be like, like a top 10 team. I just need them to be like truly relevant, to be something. And it is sad, guys, right? It's genuinely, it's a sad deal.
Basketball will be better with IU being good because Indiana is such a basketball state. Like
For sure.
And as good as Purdue has been, IU is like Purdue. This is crazy with the colors. Purdue's like Vandy here, like in Tennessee. IU is the school here and all throughout the state, except for like one small area. And then they've sporadic fans everywhere. But when they're good, it's going to be crazy and all that. But I mean, it's been 10 years since they've seen the second weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And they made one tournament. They made the tournament in 23, and that was the last time they've been there. I don't know. At some point, you got to reset your expectations as a fan base. Like, all right, we got to get back to making the tournament consistently before we start thinking about, oh, we're good. No, get back to the tournament for 3 years in a row. Then we can start.
It's just sad, but the program doesn't seem to want to be back to that place. They're not putting in the effort to do it.
It's Tennessee football from a handful of years ago. It's just powering through coaches because you're not what we used to have. Well, you need to reset your expectations a little bit.
So I think you just mentioned the poison pill here, Jake. Like in Indiana, like I was shocked. Like I grew up in northern Indiana, and everything north of West Lafayette, you're Purdue or Notre Dame, and that's all you hear about all year nonstop. I got down to the greater Indianapolis area, and I was shocked to learn that basically everybody south of West Lafayette is a huge IU fan. I grew up an IU fan. I loved Purdue and IU. I went to Bobby Knight basketball camps. Bobby Knight was the last true great coach that they had outside of Kelvin Sampson, and they couldn't keep him because of whatever bullshit rule he violated. That's now no longer a rule. But the poison pill here is that fan base. They run coaches out of there like crazy. I've talked about it like 3 or 4 times on 3 or 4 different episodes of this podcast. Like it's like Kentucky. if you're not winning, you're not staying. And if you're not winning enough, you're not staying. Like Purdue, they can get away with an off year. People love Matt Painter. The whole nation loves Matt Painter. I think he can't miss many tournaments, but he like where he was at when he almost took the Missouri job was like in a dark place, but West Lafayette didn't run him out. You look at Archie Miller, you look at Tom Crean, you look at Davis, they ran those guys out of there. Woodson got one extra year that he shouldn't have. That cost him Dusty May.
Yeah.
You talk about a program that would be night and day different if IU lands Dusty May and has the rosters that they had with the IU aura. You talk about national title contender right now. So they're a day late, dollar short, and we'll see if DeBrise can get them to back to the promised line. But the poison pill there is those boosters and that fan base. They want blood, and they want it now.
It's true. Flex.
Which fan base suffers the most when their team isn't nationally relevant? For me, it's Louisville. Okay, and here's why: because they share the state with Kentucky, and if they're having a huge drop off and just getting the doors beat off of them by Kentucky, that's a miserable place for any kind of Louisville fan.
So I think I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to say because it's two states that value basketball more than most of the rest of the country, IU and Louisville, when they're not winning, their fan bases are toxic. Like IU fans have spent the last 3 or 4 years talking shit about Purdue not having banners because they have nothing else to talk about. I've got really good friends that are IU fans that cannot talk about anything else besides the fact that, IU's got banners. I got some IU fans that are like reasonable human beings that with reasonable expectations, but I've also got people that are not even, 35 years old talking about banners that they've never seen. Louisville's the same way. Louisville used to be like college basketball royalty, and I think they're going to get back there, but that's a team that had to spend the last 4 or 5 years celebrating Kentucky losses as opposed to their own wins.
Yeah, I think Duke fans, if their team's not relevant, like the COVID year there with, I think that was Vernon Carey, that team that was borderline probably makes a tournament based on their name, but probably didn't deserve it if that tournament happens. Duke fans catch a lot of heat for being Duke fans in general because everybody wants to hate them because everybody considers it bandwagon. So if you're not winning, what do you have?
Yeah,
like you're just eating it from everybody because everybody hates Duke. They still sell I still hate Leitner shirts, like,
Right.
And I mean, the same goes kind of the other side of that rivalry too, is like when North Carolina's not relevant, they've got a little bit more because they'll just start bringing up Jordan and how Jordan's whatever, and apparently that makes them untouchable because Michael Jordan played 3 years there 40 years ago. But like when it's easy to pick them out because that sky blue, when you have that kind of blue that's easy to find, it's easy to get picked out and easy to get yelled at.
See, I think North Carolina hurts more. Well, I wouldn't even say more. I think it's that TV time with North Carolina not being prominent. I feel like that's something that hurts them on that front.
Those are two schools that are entirely too close.
Back already.
What they did at soccer pitches where they put security in between fan bases is what they need to do in North Carolina, because vitriol between those two teams is just, you could cut it with a knife. And it's ironic because you're talking about how like everybody hates Duke or everybody hates North Carolina, right? Two of my favorite players from like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago were Tyler Hansborough and JJ Redick. Two players that everybody else in the country hated, and I loved every second of watching them play. And I remember telling people about that. It's like, you have to hate one of them. And I'm like, nah, this is good basketball. And because if you go back and watch it, it was great basketball. If you're a true lover of the sport, you love JJ Redick's ability to floor general, and then Tyler Hansborough was just an absolute psychotic beast on the floor. And I know Jake hates it, but he had size and try hard, and that stuff you cannot teach. That is just something you have or you don't. And Tyler Hansborough had it, and I loved it.
Never said he wasn't successful. I'm just saying he's not as talented as people want to make him out to be.
Yeah, I was always definitely more of a Hansborough guy, but actually Jake kind of converted me on JJ. I guess it was last season. At some point, you and I were had a conversation about like all JJ went through with the Maryland fans being so dirty to him and all that. Like he experienced so much stuff that I I didn't really pay attention to. But I feel like it's one of those things I appreciate him more now than I did before.
Okay, Maryland, I hate it. I still mad at Maryland for the stuff they were saying. Like when you bring up like his little sister and stuff, that's crossing lines. But to be fair, JJ brought on a lot of that to himself with the attitude he
Of
played
course.
with. And doing specials on him writing poetry like that, that was just setting him up.
Well, and hey, Maryland's another team that it's been a long time since they've been relevant. That's one I didn't even think about when preparing for this.
Yeah.
I thought they were on their way back to relevancy, especially with their roster last year, and then boom, coaching change. So that's just like
and
here
a
we
weird
go
one at
again.
that. A very weird situation.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Like I was like, here we go with Maryland again. Like I love that Derek Queen team. I mean that team was just so much fun to watch. And I think I had them in my Elite Eight last year because I just believed in them that much. They just kind of ran into a buzzsaw there. But national title 23 years ago is what they got.
When was that?
It's like 2002, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there.
Yeah, with one of my all-time favorite just players. I love Steve Blake. I was a great Steve Blake.
God, that dude. Yes.
So yeah,
Steve Blake. I hadn't thought about that name in a minute.
Yeah, we're the teams we mentioned like IU, Louisville, Nova, UNC, Kansas to an extent. But yeah, Maryland. That I was really excited for them to be relevant again, especially in the Big Ten. But yeah, we'll see what happens this year.
This is the last question in this segment, and I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say. Which struggling program does their conference need to be good again for the league's credibility? To me, it is one team and one team only, and that's the Georgetown Hoyas. The Big East needs Georgetown.
Big East needs somebody.
Something, but Georgetown, that's just a basketball nerd. Georgetown has that historic presence, a great history, and there's got to be some money there. There's got to be something.
There's definitely money there, but they suffered the same fate as Louisville. They hired former legend, and everything just came crashing down, and it just has not picked back up.
They thought they hired the guy to turn it around, and that's I still don't see it. There's a list of teams in the Big East needs, because right now you've got UConn and then St. John's, and after that, like Nova's fallen off a cliff. Georgetown got shot, and I don't know if they've gotten back up. And it's like Butler's not been good, but that's not your traditional.
Xavier's flirted with being good,
right?
Yeah,
but they're such a flow. Like they're never that consistent. They're always relevant. Yeah. Well, for the most part.
But it's
on the fringe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Marquette is flirted with it, but that's I don't know that those are bringing with Marquette or Xavier is bringing national recognition. When Georgetown's good, it brings everybody in. When Nova's good, it brings everybody in. Your original Big East teams need to step up, and right now you're getting carried by UConn and half of St. John's. That's struggle. The Big East struggles. I think the Big Ten wants IU to be better.
I think they do too. I mean, the Big Ten is when it's football.
There's too much of a football conference now. From a basketball standpoint, if they want to get to the recognition and stuff that SEC was getting these last few years, basketball wise, IU's got to be the team that leads, maybe not leads the way, but is at the top of the pack, and because they're getting better at football, but I don't think the school necessarily, the fan base necessarily cares about football like they would basketball. They just need, the Big Ten wants that school, wants that team to be good. It doesn't matter if Rutgers is good or UCLA, and I guess would kind of matter. It's Big Ten wants IU.
Yeah, I agree. Because in football, we've strung together some national titles in the Big Ten, but we're still little brother to the SEC in football, and now we're little brother to the SEC in basketball. We're on a 20-some-odd year drought for a national title with the Big Ten. The more teams that are relevant in the Big Ten, the better for the overall conference. I want to see the drought in this year. I think it's got a really good shot with Purdue, Michigan, UCLA, Illinois, these teams that are going to be dogs all year. So I really, really believe that the drought can end this year, but you're right. Indiana being relevant would certainly help give them a leg up in that finally getting the monkey off our back.
Yeah. Well, it was wild. Like when we first talked about this before we got to these questions, what I was thinking was teams that need to reset their expectations so I can quit hearing them whine. I had IU, Louisville, Georgetown, and Syracuse, and I threw Cincinnati in there. But like these teams, IU hadn't seen the second weekend since in 10 years. Neither has Louisville, Cincinnati, and then Georgetown. It's been almost 20 years since they've seen a second weekend. Like, I mean, Lord, it's been 10 years since they've had a winning conference season. But and Syracuse made the second season Boeheim, the second weekend in Boeheim's last year, but has missed 5 of the last 6 tournaments, including that one.
It's a shame. That's another.
These teams got to reset your expectations. The expectation for these schools now, a little kind of different, but make the tournament. Like, just be there. Be happy to get there for a few years in a row, then start worrying about what's past the first weekend. Let's get there and let's maybe win a game before we start talking about Elite 8, Sweet 16, those kind of expectations on your coaches. Give them a second to build that up.
Yeah.
Get on the dance floor, talk to a couple girls. You don't necessarily need to dance with one yet, but 2-3 years from now, you're doing the worm. 4 or 5 years ago, you're talking to the prom queen. So, yeah, just get on the dance floor.
But I see coaches giving us the darted eyes, and again, we've talked too much, but we got to go and do our job. So, starting 5's coming out. It's time for us to check in.
Yep. See you at the next blowout, y'all.
And if you made it this far, you're already part of the bench mob. So hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more chaos. Bench Points is on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you pretend to know ball.